Now I
No,
just
but
know how painful it's going to be when I die. I
oh,
have osteoporosis really bad, and I have
uh-huh.
also degenerative arthritis in my shoulders and
Oh,
tendonitis.
right. This was the shoulders that you were complaining about.
Yes, I knew something. I knew I needed to step away and go to the
Uh-huh.
doctors. I knew it was something new and something serious. I mean, I don't,
Right.
not deadly, but to take care of. And,
Yeah.
to go to the doctor during the pandemic is not easy, and it
Yeah.
would take a
Yeah.
lot to make me want to do that. So yeah, I'm
Right, right.
still in a lot of pain in my shoulders, and it radiates, but at least I know that I have degenerative arthritis. And you know what the good news is?
What is the good news, Linda?
Try to get you to quit worrying. I now have something in common with Ellen DeGeneres. So stupid.
You got me,
I
got me.
every single thing that's wrong with me, I can make a joke about. I've been to the doctor so many times. I can make a joke about every department at the hospital. I've been to them all.
Right.
So
Oh gosh.
yes,
So what is okay?
we
What
are
is the treatment?
live, and you can share it with your people now. But
Okay, cool.
please keep
What is
talking.
the yeah, what is the treatment, or is there is there a cure? Is there a treatment, or is it just relief? What is the thing that
Degenerative
you're doing?
arthritis is, like it's one of those things they haven't really found a cure for. They just treat the pain, and it keeps getting worse as it progresses.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like a comic, they just keep getting worse. And it's a new joke. I'm trying it out on you. Just thought of it. No, yeah, and like with the tendonitis, that'll go away. But
Right.
and then I have osteoporosis, so my bones are getting weak. But there's
Yeah.
really good news about the osteoporosis, Sim.
Okay. Okay. Hit me with it.
The
What is it?
doctor the doctor told me that everybody gets it if you live long enough. So that means
Oh.
I've lived long enough, so I'm winning.
Okay. I yeah.
You gotta
Well,
stretch.
yeah, I hope you feel I hope you feel better with the medication.
Thank you. It's a
Um
lot to deal with.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna share this right now. Oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah. Okay. Share this. What shall I say?
Um,
Um,
I'm on Comic
going
Spot with this
live.
crazy white lady in America. Laura Grant is watching. Do you know Laura Grant?
No.
She might not be watching, but she clicked like to the video.
Okay.
Oops.
Cool. Okay, let me just
She's a very good
share
interviewer.
this. Awesome. Awesome.
Maybe she can
Uh,
interview you and Augustine too.
Let me see if I can share this on my phone to the other group. Oh no, I know how to do this.
Take your
Let me
time.
see. Let me see. Go to this place. Copy this link. Oh, right. Go
We have to think
to.
like millennials to do anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like a millennial. I'm trying to get this done. I have gotten a little bit better at this stuff in the past few months, but yeah, it's still like you say, think like a millennial. So it's kind of like I'm thinking in a different language here. I'm trying to
It's so
focus and
true.
translate it.
It's crazy.
Cool.
So,
Okay.
welcome
Now
to
I've lost my wind.
Now, can I do
Okay.
the introduction of you, Sim?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready. We can
All
begin.
right. Dear Facebook people, Twitter, Instagram, my fans, my friends, my family, and all of Sim Tong's friends, OMG. I am so glad to have Sim from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia here today. I have a friend who's a comedian in Kuala Lumpur right now. So we have to talk about that. But before we do anything, we have to welcome him to Comic Spot. This puts you on the same
Yay.
level with Sinbad. You are now,
Wow.
you've arrived.
Wow.
So let me say your intro. He says, okay, you want an intro? Let me think. Here you go. He says, I'm a comedian based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I
Right.
once performed comedy at a 300,000 people street rally. Jeez Louise. Holy
That's true.
Toledo. And I have a daily live stream called Checking In on Funny People. It's on and he's also at Facebook, Sim Tong Comedy, and a podcast called The Beauty of Ugly.
That's right.
OMG. And so let's welcome from Facebook, where I met him on a Jimmy Earl show that was streaming live, Malaysia's little known secret. He's only done comedy for 300,000 people once. Holy Toledo. There is nothing that can beat this. Nothing trumps this. Not even Trump trumps this. This is amazing. Welcome to Comic Spot. I bow to you.
No, 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 no. Actually, my biggest achievement that it didn't include in there is that I'm friends with Linda Marcus Smith, who is the most prolific content creator on the internet, I think.
Oh, wow. I don't even know
Yeah.
what prolific is or content. I know what a creator is, but that's about it. I have
Yeah.
a high degree of MTU. Do you know what MTU is?
What is MTU?
MTU is I make things up. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think we probably have that in common. You notice that I phrased my achievement pretty carefully. I said I performed at a 300,000 people street rally. I didn't say I performed to 300,000 people. Those are two different things. The amount, because what happened was we were at this street rally, a protest rally, and there were many different speeches going on at the same time, and I was at one spot performing to one small segment of that crazy, yeah, group of people, I guess. Yeah. So
Yes.
I think if I was to be honest, I think I probably could say I was performing to like 50 to 100 people, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
works. That works just fine. I
Yeah.
once got invited to do comedy where there was 1,000 veterans, and they
Hmm.
threw me in a corner behind a wall and let me walk around and invite people around the corner. And maybe I did comedy for 10 people who were chewing food at the time.
Yeah, but I think and I know that that is a that is a real achievement. Like doing comedy in a place that is not ideal. That's hard.
It
And if you can
is.
do that, if you can do that, you can do an arena, no problem, right?
That's right. We can do
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. If we can do a bad scenario, then it
Yeah.
makes us better for the good ones that come along.
Yeah.
That's very smart. Very smart indeed. So you're in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and my cell phone tripod has a mind of its own. Just one sec.
No worries. Take your time. Yeah, Kuala
Where
Lumpur, Malaysia.
where you live right now, you
Uh-huh.
probably lived there your whole life.
Yes, you could say that. Yeah, pretty
I
much my whole
can.
life I've been.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's lived there his whole life. He said I can say it. So in Kuala Lumpur, is it beautiful? Is there scenery and greenery, or what's the topography like?
Gosh, it's
Used a big word on
I
you.
I want to say it's a big city, but that's like by Malaysian standards, I guess. Yeah, but it is pretty big. How many million people? I think. I don't even know, man. I live
Wow.
here and I don't know the population, but I think the greater Kuala Lumpur area probably 4 million. But
Wow.
that includes like the surrounding towns, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm so curious about other countries. It's not because I'm ignorant, but I am ignorant. But I'm curious about Malaysia. In how many languages do the people speak who are natives to Malaysia?
Um, okay, ask that again. Is how many
In
people? Oh,
Malaysia,
right,
there's
right.
millions of people in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And how
How
many
many
times
people? Yeah.
they must speak different languages, or everybody
Right.
speaks one language?
Um, the main one would be our national language. Sometimes we call it Malay, or sometimes we call it Bahasa Malaysia is the official name for it. Yeah, the Malaysian language, basically it means.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it is basically almost everyone speaks it, I think. There are pockets of people who maybe are either not educated or didn't go to school or didn't pay attention, and they don't speak it that well. But generally, it's the most common language over here. And in Kuala Lumpur, a lot of people speak English. Um, yeah, but outside of outside of the city, not so much.
What's your closest country to you? Or how many
Um,
countries are around you? I don't know geography. You
no, no,
have
I
to.
can tell you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I can tell you. So Malaysia is split into two main parts: East Malaysia and West Malaysia. So between East Malaysia and West Malaysia, I would say the countries nearest to us are Thailand to the north, uh, Singapore to the south. Um, Indonesia basically just surrounds us, and a little bit to the east. If you can swim really well, maybe the Philippines. Yeah.
That's funny. So I have a friend that's a comedian from here in Vegas, and
Mhm.
she's in Malaysia right now. She's been
Oh
there
wow.
for about 6 months, and she does a lot of meditation there with a group of people. Her name is Trish Smart. So,
Trish Smart. Okay,
mhm.
I don't think we have met her, but yeah, I can ask around. Maybe somebody might
Yeah.
know. You know.
She's
Yeah.
very funny. She's very
Cool.
funny. She's been a headliner a lot. So
Awesome.
I just want to know everything there is to know about Sim Tong, starting from when you were little. I mean, you can go through your life really fast. It's okay. But I'd love to
Uh.
know, you're funny. You don't go
Okay.
very long without laughing. So I imagine that you were funny
I
in your
like to.
family in school.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I like to laugh. Yeah, you got that right. I think when I was young, I never particularly thought I was particularly funny. I think there was a stage where I was trying to be cool, and even when I was, I think when I was okay. Let's start it when I was young, right? I guess I never figured like the whole school thing, like how to be cool, how to fit in. Um, and I feel like nobody ever really did in my school. I mean, looking back, I think the majority of us just went through that whole phase, just not figuring it out. It's like, okay, maybe right now we think like, oh, okay, it's baggy pants and baggy shorts. That's the thing, and then the next year is like, okay, that wasn't the thing. What is the thing? What is this one thing that we need, that we you know, just go out and get it, and then we're done with it, right? And yeah, I think even when I was in college, when I was in university, I was still that guy, still trying to hang on to coolness. and and yeah, I feel like I was like barely hanging on to it, and I was like, okay, what is it? Go to clubs, learn how to dance. I never learned how to dance, um, and like never learned how to meet girls. Sex was just like, I'm amazed that I know anything about sex at all, because like yeah, growing up over here, it's just like Asian parents, school is no help really. They give you some diagrams and some textbooks, and like that's no help at all. And yeah, I just I didn't know the female anatomy until I would say in my late 20s. I still didn't know where everything was.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of American men that still don't know much about female anatomy.
Yeah, I'm
A
still
lot of
learning.
frustrated American women out here.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was me. With comedy, I think I kind of discovered comedy in the sense that I enjoy comedy. I love watching comedy, and I think there was one stage a few I want to say a few more like 10 years ago. My dad was a little bit ill, and I was spending a lot of time taking care of him. And um I would he was really easy to take care of. I didn't like had to do anything. Basically, I just had to be there. So I had a lot of time on my hands, so I would bring my computer with me. I would watch YouTube videos. I was watching all the on YouTube, you could just go down one rabbit hole after another. I was watching YouTube videos. I was watching YouTube videos like how to catch a squirrel with a like a mineral water bottle or something like that, right? Just like things that I would never use. Uh, and then I kind of stumbled upon some stand-up comedy videos, and then I was like, oh yeah, this thing exists, stand-up comedy, right? So I went down that rabbit hole, and I think I never came out of it.
It's like
Yeah,
Alice in Wonderland rabbit
yeah,
hole.
yeah, that's right.
My goodness
Um,
sakes.
yeah, and then I realized like, oh, okay. When I was in my 40s, right? By then I was in my 40s. I was like, uh, yeah, actually, that whole time I was trying to be cool. I basically gave up on it, right? By now I'm like, I'm married, I'm a dad. It's like the whole cool thing is like, for one, it's not that necessary anymore. It's like, who am I trying to impress, right? Uh, for another thing, it's just like, well, it's just like I've given up on it. It's not something that like who am I fooling? I was never cool, you know. So I look back on it, and yeah, I just feel like, well, okay, that's not my thing. My thing is not the cool thing. My thing is probably just being a dad and making people laugh every now and then, maybe. Yeah. I was writing at that time. I was writing a blog. Remember those?
Yes.
I kept a blog, and I always finish my blog, like at the end of my blog would I would always try to end the blog in some funny way, and then I realized like, hey, maybe I am trying to write jokes here. So I started doing comedy, went to an open mic, and yeah, I never stopped. I think now, thinking back now, I think like it's nowadays it's different. Now it's like it's cool that I'm not cool, and yeah, it's so strange now to think that I was going down this path trying to be this cool guy and not being myself. So much wasted time. Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny premises for comedy.
Yeah. I sometimes think back and I wish I made more mistakes and had more embarrassing moments over growing up. I try to, sometimes I still find some of them that I blocked out years ago. I'm like, hey, this could be funny. Yeah.
You have to go to hypnosis to remember them, to have the memories come.
Yeah. You think hypnosis works? Maybe I should try that.
One time I went to a hypnotist because I was so depressed.
Hmm.
And the hypnotist said, go to your happy place. And I'm like, could I get my money back?
Right.
Can I get a refund?
Yeah, that would be the happy place, right?
My happy place is anywhere but here if you're trying to make me go to it. There isn't one. And I realized I had problems. I don't have a happy place. That's my problem.
Is it true? You don't have a happy place? I wonder what.
At the time,
Yeah.
I didn't. I was so depressed. Everything was so dark then that when she
Mm.
said to go to your happy place, I was like, well, this sure ain't it.
It's too much. Sometimes it's like the prescription is too much of a big step, right? It's like how do I go to a happy place, right? It's like
Yes.
it seems like an easy thing that we're supposed to be able to do, but it's like I don't know how to do that if you just tell me to do it.
Yeah. I really liked the hypnosis because I joke about it, but it really did work. Because when I told her, I started crying and I said, I
Oh,
don't have a happy place. I mean, I was like
right.
63 years old and I couldn't think of a happy place to go to. So she made me dig deeper and we found a happy place to go to. She said, well, think of something that you've had in the past that you enjoyed in the past. So then she brought, oh yeah, I had a really wonderful dog. So she
Right.
had me visualize being with that dog. And I would have never thought of it. I was in too dark of a place to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You
But
could
that
think
that
yourself.
hypnosis did work. It did.
Yeah, you could think yourself in a circle. Yeah.
Yes. You can
And
actually kind of self hypnotize yourself without going to hypnosis. I mean, you can meditate on something. Like if I just think about this Perrier water, you know,
mhm.
and nothing else but that Perrier water, I forget all my problem. It's a type of hypnosis,
Right, right,
meditating.
right. Just focus on one thing. Yeah. Uh I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm I'm gonna have to take a lot of practice. I think I would have to practice a lot because I find that my attention span is getting shorter and shorter. Yeah, some days I would turn on my computer and I don't have like one of those old clunky computers. I have a my computer is like a year old. So it's not like one of those really like it takes you like, 15 minutes to turn it on. So I would
Yes.
turn it on and in the let's say 15 seconds for it to, get ready, I
Mhm.
would take my phone and play with my phone while I wait for my computer to turn on. That's where my attention span is nowadays. Yeah,
Yes.
kind of crazy.
Absolutely. Everybody has ADD, ADHD. We're all, that's just part of life right now. Nobody focuses very good.
Yeah. I
So
wish I could
true.
though. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm I like being in every moment, enjoying, like right now I'm looking at your face
Mm-hmm.
and your smile, you're nodding. I'm trying to relish everything that's going on. And
That's wonderful.
whenever I focus, when you're really in this moment, all your worries go away. Your pain goes away,
That's
your
wonderful.
emotional
Yeah.
pain, because I'm so focused on making you feel comfortable, getting you to say things that you're going to regret later. Just kidding.
Okay. let's
No.
let's see. Yeah.
Talk to me
i
about
i probably I probably would several times before the hour is over. Yeah.
I'd love to hear about what's been the highs and lows in your life, funny things, sad things, hard things in your
Oh gosh,
comedy
this is like,
life.
yeah.
Anything that you want to, this is your chance to tell me anything you've never told anybody else on an interview.
Yeah, this is
I
this
want
is
the
kind of like
exclusive.
this is kind of like therapy now. let me
No, I mean,
let me
like
think.
I won't do that on you. I'm not, but like I'd love to hear what's the funnest thing about being in Malaysia? What's a hard thing you went through in your life? What's the best part of comedy and the most difficult thing you went through? Stuff like real stuff. I want
Yeah.
real stuff.
Okay, so I'm trying to think, but probably my memory only goes back that far, like just a few days. So I'll tell you something recent, which is that well, the other day I was doing this very boring thing. So I was backing up our photos on our computers. I was backing up everything on the hard drives, And my wife usually just leaves me to it because she doesn't know anything about computers, right? She doesn't know what a file is, what a folder is. She cannot find anything on the computer, and I always have to help her. So I'm like, okay, it's my job. She just takes photos, and I have to back up all the photos. And she takes a lot of photos. She sometimes forgets that the button is in that sports mode or that machine gun
Yes.
mode.
Yes.
It takes like
Yeah.
50 photos all in a row, and they all look pretty much exactly the same. Yeah, so I have to back up all that, right? And then so I was doing that. I set up the computer. It was doing its job, and I was sitting there, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just let it do its thing. But before I could get up, she comes over to kind of supervise because she has so much faith in me, right? And she immediately tells me that I'm doing something wrong, and I'm like, what? And she says, well, you shouldn't be using Seagate hard drives, because she saw that I was using like this brand of hard drives called Seagate, like external hard drives. And she's like, you should and I was like, well, last time I was using Western Digital, and you told me not to use Western Digital. Now I'm using Seagate, and you're telling me this is wrong too. So I was getting a little bit worked up, right? And then she's like, no, I've heard really bad things about Seagate. And I'm like, well, that's what you said about Western Digital, right? So she goes to her phone and asks her 5,000 friends on Facebook, like, which hard drive we should be using to kind of prove a point. And then her friend comes back with this answer that she forwarded to me on WhatsApp. and and so I looked at it, and I'm like, really? So what her friend said was, well, actually, all hard drives have the possibility of failing. So Western Digital is probably a good choice because it's they have a local factory here, they have a local service center, so the service is pretty fast. And I was like, okay, so this is this. So I was like, last time you asked me not to use Western Digital, now you ask me to, like, I'm using Seagate because you told me not to use it. Now you're telling me to go back to Western Digital. So I'm like going crazy here. And then she said this thing, like without any irony, without any sense of this is funny to her. And she said, like, well, last time I mixed up the brands. Last time when I said Western Digital, what I meant was Seagate. And I was like, well, if you're able to use this kind of argument, there's no way I can win any arguments, right? So I just had to laugh. Basically, nowadays I just see the situation that used to frustrate me, but I think, like, it could be a joke here, could be a story here. And I'm telling you the story now. I mean, I still haven't worked it into a joke yet, but like I think it's funny, I think that life is full of moments like this that used to frustrate me, and now they're just funny to me. So in to answer your question, like, this is kind of like the highlights of my life, and it's also why my podcast is called The Beauty of Ugly. It's all these
Okay.
moments. Yeah, it's all these moments, right? Where it's like, it could be frustrating if you let it be, but it's actually those are the stories, right? Those are the beautiful stories. In my mind, they're beautiful, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
So,
So yeah,
with regard to her using that as an argument that you could not fight, you
I
know,
can't fight. She can change things around anytime she wants. She's like, I mixed up the two brands, and I'm like, well, look at it from my point of view. It's like, how can I ever be right about anything, right?
yes,
But but when I tell other people, they kind of relate as well. They like, yeah, arguing with your wife. What are you doing? That's no point. Yeah,
yeah. The wife is always right. They have a
yeah,
saying, happy wife, happy life. Do
that's
you?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see you saying that on stage, like, do you guys fight? As a married couple, you fight? And they go, yeah, never fight with your wife. I wish I'd have learned this a long time ago. I'm a slow learner. It took me a long time, but I finally got it. And then tell the story and then go, you know, th- it was masterful of her. This is amazing. I can't fight
Yeah.
her. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to play checkers with her. I don't, and you could list a
Yeah.
bunch of things you don't want to do with her. I don't want to play Scrabble. I don't even want to play Monopoly with her. And then you could say, wouldn't it be funny if every time somebody tried to argue with me, I would start using that same logic with other people? And then she would say, you shouldn't argue like that, because maybe she doesn't realize that she argues like this, or maybe she does, and she would go, good job, you're really
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be
That's
a
funny.
whole 10-minute bit.
Yeah, that is funny. That is funny. Thanks,
It's
Linda.
very
Yeah.
unique. I've never heard
It's,
anybody talk about how your wife argues in such a way. Why do you
oh
even
man.
bother arguing with her?
Yeah, I think about half of my material is about that. Really, I'm also writing one where like it's about driving directions, because when we're out, usually I'm the driver, and she is much better at navigating. I mean, okay, no,
That's
I take that,
funny.
back. She has a good sense of direction. She has a great sense of direction, but she sucks at navigating, because the way she tells it to me, it's just like she will give me just tell me one way to go, right? Like, do I turn left or do I go straight? But she's like, maybe you should turn left here. Oh no, but there's always a roadblock here, so maybe you should go straight. Oh, but then like there's always, the traffic is always very slow here. Maybe you should turn left. And I'm like, well, I'm nearing the turning here, what am I gonna do? I have like 2 seconds to decide. And then as she can't decide, I have decided, or I've driven straight, and then it's like, oh, I knew we should have turned left. I'm like, okay, it's my fault. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So she's so nice that she like lets you make all the mistakes.
No, and I think what it is she enjoys being right. But more than that, she enjoys me being wrong. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
drives me crazy about people is people that give advice and you don't even ask them for the advice.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're
Linda,
driving
yeah.
and you're
Linda, you know
asking,
what you should do with your comedy? And it's like, okay, here we go.
here
Okay,
we
what is
go.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Advice is only as good as you pay for it, you know.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
So
It's
like,
true, isn't it?
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Like when people give me advice that I don't ask for, sometimes I get sarcastic because it happens so much and I get so sick of it. I go, well, thanks a lot for the unsolicited advice.
Oh
Like, who
gosh.
was asking?
Right.
Who
Right, right,
was,
right, right.
did you think do you think I'm not an adult? I'm 69. How do you think I got this old? Natural selection? No,
Yeah, yeah.
I actually I actually made it through a few years of life by making some right choices.
Yeah.
Picking friends wasn't one of them, evidently. Oh my gosh. People are
Yeah,
so funny.
yeah, people are funny. I love it. I try to enjoy it. What frustrates me, what frustrates me is if I cannot find the joke in a bad situation. That is very frustrating. If I cannot see what's funny, and I'm
Yes.
like, okay, I'm going through this. This is very frustrating. There's gonna be a joke in here somewhere, but like I can't see it right now. That is like, it drives me nuts. Yeah.
Yes. I make a game out of it. Like if you make it work, it goes like if you're tense, it moves away from you. If you stay relaxed, it comes to you. It's just my feeling about writing jokes. And so let's say you hurt my feelings right now. I
Right.
make a game. In my mind, I know you hurt my feelings. Instead of responding, and that makes it worse, I hold it in and I think, okay, at 12 o'clock, let's say it's 12 o'clock, Sim Tong said something hurtful. He didn't,
Right.
you guys. This is make believe. Relax. It's not politically correct. Okay. So at 12 o'clock, Sim Tong allegedly says something that hurts my feelings. I make a game. How fast can I come up with a joke for it?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Shakespeare, like that takes too long. God and Shakespeare take too long. Like I want to know the funny, right? And I agree with you.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so frustrating when you go through something. For me and probably you, it's only worth it if you can come out with something funny about it. Maybe to help
Yeah. Or
yourself
or at
cope
least
or
an
help others.
interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that what is frustrating also sometimes is like, oh, okay, we're in this situation now, and you cannot stream about it, you cannot tell your friends about it, you cannot make a joke about it, I don't want to hear about it on stage, and I'm just being censored. And I find that is that is very it it's very frustrating. It was very infuriating, and I find like, oh, I can't wait until until I'm able to talk about this. Maybe right now I can't talk about this because there's this and that waiting to happen, and some people there's some sensitivities. But like, okay, maybe by let's say next year, I can talk about this. I'm like, yeah, I can't wait until that happens. Yeah,
Yes. You've heard about the saying with Shakespeare that comedy is tragedy plus time.
yeah, yeah,
And sometimes whenever you're waiting for time to pass, it's frustrating, it's depressing
yeah,
when you're waiting. And
yeah.
sometimes when we can't find the joke, it's
Yeah.
depressing or frustrating.
Yeah, that's
Very
true.
true.
That's a good point. Like comedy is tragedy but plus time. But
Yes.
then like while we are waiting for that second element, time, that in itself seems like a tragedy to me. It's like I can't make a
Yes,
joke about it right now. Yeah.
absolutely. That's exactly right. That's what I'm saying. But then on the other hand, like it's wise to wait until, like, let's say I break my foot today and I
Yeah.
go on stage and I say, I broke my foot today.
Right.
And the audience is like, oh my gosh, are you okay? They're thinking, are you okay? You look so nice. I'm so sorry. They're not
Right.
coming along for a joke because they
Right.
heard it just happened, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
sometimes when I break my foot today, I say, I broke my foot once. I don't tell them it just happened because it distracts
Right.
them,
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, that is clever. Yeah.
because there's nothing worse than a comic coming on stage and said, I just had an abortion. How are you guys doing? Like, what? What?
I would be, yeah, I would be interested. It's like, okay, this is, yeah. Let's see what else they say, right? Yeah.
Yes. Skip
But
that.
yeah, yeah, but
So it's nice when I listen to somebody tell jokes, I want to know they went through something, some time went by, they're okay with it, and they're
yeah,
okay with it so they can make fun of it. And then I can
yeah,
laugh. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Whenever a comedian does like tells a story that is could be difficult to make funny, uh I don't know. I'm very interested because I'm like, okay, let's see. Like I'm studying it. I'm like, okay, like Tig Notaro, right? I'm like, I watched her, that I listened to that performance. I
Yes.
think at least a dozen times because I'm like studying it. I'm like, how did she do this? How did she make this awkward situation? Like how did she uh um give like release the tension in this room, right? That's always interesting to me.
I like that.
Mm.
Releasing the tension. So, some people are really good at creating tension. That's what, when we're a
Yeah.
beginner comic, we're mostly creating tension and not releasing it. But
Yeah.
like Tig Notaro, Sinbad, he's
Yeah.
really good at creating tension and releasing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really, I had forgotten about that.
Yeah,
creating
it's
tension and releasing it.
yeah. Sometimes I think sometimes I still there would be times when I realize like, oh, okay, I messed up here because I'm still trying to fill in all the silences, all the yeah, because it's like, okay, so I did like a 5 minutes, I did like a 10-minute set in 5 minutes basically, and I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm supposed to, you know, be going with the energy that is here, not like trying to force it, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, and yeah, nowadays I think I've gotten a little bit better with it, but sometimes I still catch myself doing it, and I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit rusty, and then yeah,
Don't you hate it when you're doing? I was speaking to a friend in New York, my best friend, and she and I were talking about something you can't put your finger on it, but it's there. We
right,
were talking about when we're up doing comedy and you're doing really well or killing or whatever, doing
mhm,
really well. People are laughing. You could say the wrong word, they'd still laugh.
yeah,
You're not,
yeah,
you're missing a few beats. They don't catch it because they're laughing.
right,
There's an energy that you feel in the room that you're floating on a cloud.
right,
It's not hard. It's hard to see. You don't see it, but you feel it. And then the opposite, when you have a night like you're doing comedy and you're getting the laughs, but you feel like you're pushing against a wall the whole time, or you're going up a
yeah.
hill.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like I'm trying to start a fire here, but all I have are wet logs. It's like, oh, I got a spark. This guy had a chuckle, and that was it, and then it just evaporated. And then I'm like, oh, okay, back to the beginning. Okay, let's get this started. And then every joke is like that. And then it's not just me, and it seems like it's something in the room where it's like this dampness in the room or something. It's like there's me, and then there's the comic after me, and then and then the whole night is like that. And then maybe even the closer, the headliner, comes on and does 45 minutes, and it's like, yep, a little chuckle here, a little laugh there, but never something that you can build on. And you know what I mean? Because sometimes, a lot ideally, comedy is comedy in a room. It's something that you build, like, okay, now the first
That's right.
performer brings the crowd up to here, the second performer takes it from there and brings it higher, and by the end of the night, everyone is like, they cannot believe how much they have laughed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's ideal, but there'll be some nights where it's like that doesn't happen, and we don't know why. We can't, like, nobody was rude, nobody heckled, um there wasn't any bad news for that day or anything like that. It was just nothing we can just put our finger on. Yeah.
Yes. So when I helped out at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, Oregon for about a year, and I watched every show every week. 7 shows, 3 mics inside, and I did 3 mics out at the public square in Portland. And I studied watching people and watching audiences, because everybody says, "Oh, you just need to learn how to read a room." How are you going
Right.
to learn that? Nobody teach it. You got to
Right.
watch people. So I
Yeah.
started watching people, and I have a theory. Want to hear my theory?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel that you don't have to, but I feel it would be
No, I'm
nice. I will pay you to feel
I
the way. I,
right. No, I yeah, I want to hear the
okay.
theory. Yeah.
Okay. I feel that when a comedy show, forget mics, but a comedy show,
Yeah.
many times the host is being selfish, goes
Oh,
up there and he's just like, "Hey, welcome. Got any birthdays? Okay, here's my comedy. How do you like me?" All right. The next guy coming up is so and so. Let me give you
Right.
a half cracked intro that I didn't really put any time into. And here he is, folks. And he comes up and he's like, good Lord. And he tries, but the
Mm.
audience is like, we don't, what the heck is going on? And then the feature comes up and he's like, okay, this is kind of a crazy night. Did you
Right.
guys
Right.
know you're at a comedy show? So now they get offended. And then the
Mm.
headliner gets up there and if he's a pro with 30 years of experience, he can kill. But if
Right.
he's 10 to 20 years in comedy, it's or a year into comedy, it takes a 30-year veteran to be able to walk up there and know that if everybody bombed, he can still kill.
Right.
And
Right.
all of that shouldn't have happened if the host, my feeling, if the
Right.
host did his or her job, he would
Right.
go up and he or she would go up, not do their own comedy for 3 to 5 minutes, and just make the audience feel at home and make them feel united. Like we say, we're all in this together. We should do that for a crowd at a comedy show. We
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
make them forget you live out there and you live out there and you have this
Right.
job and you have this many kids. We're all in this together.
Right.
Stop whatever you're thinking. You're here now. We're on a ship. It
Yeah.
doesn't get to the port unless y'all play my game. Now here's the game. You have to clap. Do you all know how to clap? Okay, let me see if do you know how to laugh? Okay, let me
Right.
hear those laughs, like get them ready, like this is
Yeah.
a comedy show. These people have put their lives in their marriages, their kids, they could be out in the parking lot waiting for daddy to come home. These people deserve your utmost attention and respect. Like don't heckle them. At the end we'll have a drawing, whatever house thing you're promoting. Buy their t-shirts, support them, and you're gonna have a hell of a good time. You made the right choice. And
Yeah.
now I'm gonna do my comedy, and then I'm gonna bring up the first comedian, after me. Bring up these guys are so great. They've been working they're so excited to be here, you guys. Oh my gosh, I'm
Right.
so
Right.
glad and then the energy, and then if they fail, that's their own fault. But at least the host sets it up so it will be at this level energy, not down here. That's how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. So it could be selfishness. It could be inexperience because sometimes they just like, okay, I know how to do comedy. Let me host, right? And then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna tell these jokes and I'm gonna do an intro. So like, if I mix these two things together, then that's hosting, right? But then that's two components that are maybe two components that are required in hosting, but it's not the whole thing. The whole thing is you gotta understand the idea that you're supposed to be the glue that ties this whole thing together, right? You're supposed to, yeah, tell the people like, hey, everything's gonna be fine, and you can actually even do it without doing a joke. You can actually host without doing a joke.
You
A lot
can.
of comedians, yeah, a lot of comedians don't realize this. That is the important thing is to make people feel comfortable, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, having said that, I'm not the best host.
Ah,
I haven't done it enough, but I understand it. Yeah.
yes. I
Um.
like the way that you think. You're very humble. You're not, arrogant.
Well. Well. Yeah. But then I also think like yeah, I want to get to the point where it's like as you say, even if the host doesn't do a good job or the opener doesn't do a good job, it's still gonna be okay because I should have the experience like at some point to just say like, okay, I know how to open, I know how to host, and I know how to close. And because the room is cold right now, I'm gonna do all three, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And just kind of host and open for myself and just yeah, save the show, right? I would like to, yeah, I would like to get to a point where I can just do that consistently. Yeah.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the ultimate comedy thing for you? Where are you going? What are you aiming
Mm,
for?
yeah, I don't put enough thought into this. It's just this comedy so far has just been this thing that I enjoy. But yeah, I would like to. I'm still building my material, to be honest. I've been doing it for 8 years. I feel
Wow.
like uh, after my first year, I thought I had an hour, and right now I feel like I have less than half an hour. You know
That's
what I
good.
mean? Yeah, it's
That's
just
good sign.
yeah. I'm just. Oh, sorry, my phone is going off. Um,
That's
I'm
okay.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm just trying to. I have jokes that I like, but then I'm still trying to learn about myself to kind of like, okay, this one is true. I could say this, and basically everything should be true, really.
Mhm.
Nothing, I don't have anything that's really too far fetched. That's just, I used to do that. I used to, I
Me
used to
too.
have like a story about myself, that actually happened, and then the next one there's a talking dog, and it's audience just stares at me and is like, what the hell is going on? I would like to, yeah, I would like to. Well, the next step would be to have my 1 hour, um, just do that. And this now doing online mics, I'm actually kind of working towards that, really. Trying to write more jokes and not. I think before this whole stay at home thing that we are in right now, right? I I didn't put any thought into it, and I just think like, oh, okay, it's time to go to the club and do a set. Or can I have the weekend spot and things like that? And then I would go and do my 10 minutes, which I don't really have to do any work for that because I already have the 10 minutes in my back pocket, right? Anytime I want. So because of that, I've been lazy.
It's a
and
good
now,
place to be, though. It's
yeah,
very comfortable.
I feel like the pandemic has kind of shaken me a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to where am I at? I don't know where I'm at. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess now I'm paying attention. I'm at the spot right here, and I need to get to the next point. And to do that, I actually have to pay more attention to what's going on and write a little bit about that, which I haven't been doing all of last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you've been doing comedy about 8 years.
Mhm.
And what's your favorite time on stage?
Favorite time on stage?
Yeah.
Let me think. Um, Favorite time on stage. There were a few. There was, I guess I would say that one time when I was at a street rally was pretty special because the conditions were horrendous because I was actually performing from the back of uh, a pickup truck, and it's
Whoa.
one of these, yeah, it's one of these trucks that are just designed to make announcements, so the speakers are pointed sideways. So I was standing on the bed of the truck, facing the back of the truck, right, towards the crowd. And then I would perform, and the people right in front of me, I think they couldn't hear what I was saying. They were like just staring at me. And then I would hear laughter from the sides because those people could hear me. Right? Yeah, it was it was special because it was kind of historical as well because we okay, so this is a little bit about the political history of Malaysia. We have always had the same government for, we are a young nation. We are um it's been 63 years since our independence, and in the past 63 years we have always, no, okay, that's not true. Until 2 years ago we have always had the same government. So imagine that. Imagine just being the United States and just having Republicans this whole time, right? So that was us. And then finally, we kind of voted in the opposition. That was, yeah, that was a couple of years after the street rally, but the street rally was kind of precursor to that because
Right.
because we were talking a lot about something that happened, which was that our prime minister was found to have a whole lot of money in his bank account that he couldn't account for. In the end, like after like weeks, after weeks of not coming up with a really solid answer, he came up with one, or somebody came up with one that he kind of stuck with in the end, which was that it was a donation. It was a personal donation, and then at one point it was like not. It was a donation to his party, and it's like he can't really explain why it's in his personal account, and yeah. So that was that, and then that's why we had that street rally. Well, one of the reasons. The other reason was we were pushing for fairer elections, less gerrymandering, and things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And believe me, I I mean, this is actually the short version of the story.
You know you're in trouble when somebody says that. This is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
short version.
Yeah. So that was pretty special because I don't want to say, like, it sounds really like I'm tooting my own horn if I say like I feel like I made any changes, because actually during the rally, even after the rally, I mean, it was the fourth in a series. I think altogether there were 5 rallies over the years. That was the fourth one. Um, Even during the fourth one, people were saying, "Well, what do you guys expect? We're going to change the government? You know, we have already had 3. You know, it's not going to change anything. You guys are just going out there in like for a day, and you're taking selfies. You know, you're wearing. We were all wearing yellow t-shirts because that was kind of the theme of the rally. So it's like you're gonna wear yellow t-shirts and take selfies of yourselves, and that's not going to change anything. And it's true, and we didn't change the government immediately, and I think it creates a little bit of pressure, and that helps. And I think you can't really like. I think people see it too simplistic. Like they see it as like, oh, okay, you do this, then there must be a change. Otherwise, it's a failure, right?
Got it.
Yeah, but I don't see it that way. I see it as like, okay, there's a series of things that people have been doing over the years that kind of pinpoint like, yeah, people are not happy, you know. And also the people, when they go to the voting booth, they feel like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one who's not happy. Okay, other people are not happy as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do feel a little bit proud to be part of that. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'd like to ask you about Malaysia, the country, in case there's a woman named Malaysia. I don't know what I'm saying. So
It probably is. If there's a woman named Malaysia, I think she is probably, I would have to say, maybe not Malaysian, or maybe her parents are not Malaysian, I would say. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because yeah, I think I think a Malaysian couple wouldn't name their kid Malaysia generally. I haven't met one.
We've had 2 people with the name America that were famous. Well, the first
Cool.
one, he's the reason why we're called America.
Right.
America Vespucci.
Vespucci. Yes.
Yes. Which is weird. Like we named it America of an Italian name. Like how weird is that? But then America Ferrara, whatever her name is. She's an actress, comedian.
She's an actress. Cool.
Yeah, funny lady. But okay, so Malaysia, you said for a couple of years it's new, same government. I know very little about. I didn't pay attention in school. So what was Malaysia before it was Malaysia?
Okay, so before it was Malaysia, for a few years there we were called Malaya. I'm thinking a few years. We got our independence. We were still called Malaya, and then I think in 63, we included, I think it's the right word,
Yes.
East Malaysia, which is these 2 states, Sabah and Sarawak. They're part of this island called Borneo.
Borneo.
Yeah, and on the other side of Borneo is Indonesia. Yeah,
Got it.
and the Philippines comes and visits whenever they want because the borders are very loose. Yeah, yeah, that's East Malaysia. When we
So
included East
a
Malaysia,
couple
we were called
hundred.
Malaysia. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so like 100 years ago, it was called Malay.
100 years ago, we were being colonized or ruled or
By
governed.
like
Let's
England.
say governed. Yeah, let's say governed because there were actual people called governors who were basically officially they were the advisors to the sultans, but in practical terms, they pretty much have the sultans at gunpoint. They can,
Whoa.
yeah, they can do whatever they want, and whatever advice they are giving has to be implemented. Yeah, I think it was the deal.
So in Malaysia, what do you export? What one thing is the top thing you export? And who is
Oh, gosh.
somebody famous that came from Malaysia besides you?
I'm not famous yet, but
Mhm.
okay. So you're gonna not like this answer. One of our major exports is palm oil. I think, yeah,
Oh,
because we're filled with palm oil plantations, both actually here in West Malaysia, but also in East Malaysia. There's a lot now. Yeah, a lot of forests have been cut down and replaced by palm oil. And at one point, our one of our previous prime ministers actually he was making a claim that like we still have I don't know how many percent of greenery, but he was actually counting the palm oil the oil palm plantations, and yeah, and I feel like that's kind of cheating because
got it.
it's not rainforest, right? Yeah, it's just yeah.
Yes. So, what does palm oil do for your body? Is it benefits?
I have no idea.
I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, because I'm so confused. I think I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm very bad at remembering what's supposed to be healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at some point somebody told me that palm oil is one of the better choices of oil, cooking oil.
Oh, cooking.
And
Okay.
yeah, and also there would have been somebody else who would have told me that it's probably the worst thing. I don't know.
Your sounds like something your wife said.
Yeah. So for this answer, it's better that you Google it rather than get it from me.
Okay. And is there anybody famous who Americans would know from Malaysia?
I'm trying to think.
I'm picking your brain.
I'm trying to think here. Man. There's a famous comedian. Actually, yeah, I would say famous comedian because Ronnie Chang.
I know the name.
He's very respected within stand-up comedy because he's great. His comedy is very good. And also he is a correspondent on the Daily Show. And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I think he had a role in Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was one of the cousins, and yeah, he's yeah, I love his comedy, and I have to say, I think he was born in Malaysia, but he grew up. Wait, he grew up in either America or Singapore.
Okay.
And
is it Ronnie Cheong?
Chieng? Yeah.
Ronnie Ching.
Ronnie Chang. Who else is Malaysian? Let's see. There is I think Henry Golding, who was the lead actor in Crazy Rich Asians.
That doesn't sound like an Asian name.
Yeah, he is part Chinese and part English,
Jewish.
I want to say.
Sounds
Really? Golding? Oh,
I don't
okay,
know,
right.
gold. I could be wrong.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I don't know I don't know his parents' country of origin, but okay, could be Jewish.
Could be British.
Yeah, could be British Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part Jewish, and I interviewed Tom Dreesen, Dreesen, and he used to be an opener for Frank Sinatra for 20 some years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm emailing him like, when are you going to come on? Oh, how about this day? Okay, how about this day? And I spelt his name wrong. He goes, by the way, it's Sen. And I looked at it and I had made it SON. And I told him, I'm sorry, I made you Jewish. SON is Jewish.
Right. So if it's Dreesen with SON, it's Jewish, right?
A lot of times.
Yeah. A lot of people from, I think, somewhere in Scandinavia, I want to say Swedish or they have the SON. I know in Iceland they do this thing where your name is your dad's name and then SON, because you're their son if you're male. Otherwise it's DOTTIR, daughter, which just means daughter basically.
Wow.
So they don't have like a family name that sticks. They just
they go by the first name, like Carlson.
Yeah, so maybe like Carl Gunnarsson would be Gunnar's son, and then maybe Carl's son would be Eric Carlson, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
And we kind of have the same practice or tradition with our Malay Muslim families here. They basically also don't have a family name that sticks. They basically they take the dad's name as kind of what we would call the last name. And it's not universal for all like Muslim people all over the world. Like they have different practices and in different countries. I think in Iran they actually have a family name, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Like in America the names stay the same, and but like sexes change like underwear. It's crazy. Try growing up in the 50s and then walking around now. I do a lot of comedy about how I'm so confused, because when in the 50s it was like this, and today, oh Lord, I can't even order coffee. I go into Starbucks and there's nothing in this. Yeah. It's like I already told you, it's crazy. Everything.
No, I have the same experience. There was this one time I'm not a big coffee drinker as well, but I would go to Starbucks sometimes to meet someone because it's a convenient place. And I'm like, can I just have a tea? And they don't have it. They just like, and I'm like, okay, I can't make head or tail of anything. I don't know the sizes, what they mean. And is that like, okay, do you have hot chocolate? And it's like, okay, I'll have that. That is the only thing I think I understand in Starbucks.
Yes. And me, it's the Chiquita brand bananas. They have those. One day I said, I'm so glad you have Chiquita brand bananas. And the lady took the sticker off the banana and put it on my forehead. So this is about the end, where we're going to wrap up the interview. But I want to give you time to say anything you want. You can tell jokes. You can talk about more things about your life, what you plan to do, what you want to do before you die, what kind of father are you. You joke about your wife, but I know you love her. How'd you meet her? You can tell us a little bit about things you love, things you hate personally. You can rant about stupid people, anything you want to do.
Let me think.
Do,
How
do,
about I
do.
tell you uh, this one time that I remember bombing really hard. Um,
Yes, I can't wait.
yeah, so I was hired to be part of this show, and the other people in the show were my friends as well. So it's not like strangers. Basically, I know every comedian in Kuala Lumpur.
Wow.
So we went to this place, and it was one of those long rooms where um with a pillar. It's like I don't know why there's a pillar. Like the room is already very narrow, right? What is the pillar for? So I was basically like, okay, I can if I stand right here on where the stage is, I can pretty much perform to these three tables basically. And then beyond that, there's a bar. There's like people, making drinks and using the blender, blending drinks. Yeah. So the conditions were less than ideal. And then I saw that like my friend was hosting and he was not getting anything. It's like they were not laughing at anything, right? And I don't blame him. I mean, I don't blame them and I don't blame him because like the room is like this. And then the first act goes up and nothing, you know. And then it was my turn, and I was like, uh, I was thinking like, well, I've got jokes, it'll be fine. And the way I have my set kind of arranged, and this was, I think I didn't have the experience to just switch things around or drop things back then. I was like, okay, stick to the plan, right? So the way I have my set arranged is just I have these jokes that kind of like they're like Tinder, they're kind of like the kindling that it warms up the crowd, and then when they are ready, we will hit this part where it's like it'll be a big fire, right? It'll be a roaring fire. It'll be like the crescendo, right? Uh, and those were the that was the dirty part of the set. I was like, okay, by that time they should be warm enough for the dirty jokes, right? So I did my set, and in the beginning I felt like, okay, this is okay. I think I can work with this. Like, okay, this table is starting to laugh, and then it's like, okay, I think I gotten like this people have started to laugh, but these people have kind of stopped. I'm okay, I gotta get them back, right? I was like fighting this battle, and then I think I was like just a few minutes into the set, and then I think somebody ordered a drink, and they're one of the regular customers, so their drinks are on a shelf somewhere, a half finished bottle of brandy or whiskey or something. So this waiter comes over to grab the thing off the shelf, and he made a screeching noise opening this glass shelf. And I was kind of like, well, okay, what do I do here? I didn't have the experience back then to like kind of point out like, well, this is ridiculous, right? Like I should stop performing and just talk about this, right? I didn't have the experience, so I was just no, stick to the plan, just power on. You're gonna get them back. So I was performing as he was leaning over to grab this drink, to open this shelf and grab this drink. I was kind of like still trying to perform like under his armpit, trying to get to the crowd. And so yeah, I lost them, and I was like, okay, I gotta pretty much start over again now that this thing has happened. It's a disaster. And I was like, okay, but now I'm at the part of the set where I'm getting into the dirty jokes. It's like, oh well, what do I do? I just do them, right? So I just like, okay, just do it. And yeah, I think I did like before I got to like I had like 3 punchlines in a row for this bit. I got to the first punchline, nothing, except one lady said, "That's offensive." And I was like, "Oh my god, why is she getting offended? I was talking about monkeys, right? I was talking about I was talking I was talking about monkeys pleasuring themselves, but she was offended. So I was like, okay, maybe I will stop doing that joke. I said this out loud, thinking this would appease her, right? And she said, yes, you should. And I was like thinking in my brain, like, there's no way that she's gonna like anything else I have to say, because it kind of builds from this and it gets dirtier, right? And so I said, like, um, yeah, you know what? I think that's the end of my set. And I ended it right there, and I bailed, and I just didn't do the rest of my set. And that was the only time I've ever bailed on a set. And I'm not proud of it, but it did happen. And then I went to sit next to my friends. But the problem is they were sitting on this kind of like this, not really a green room, but more like a little bench next to the stage. So I was trapped in there for like the next hour, sitting next to my friends, putting my head in my hands as the rest of them were going on with the show. But I am happy to say that the show did pick up after that. It was just me and the two and the performer before me that that didn't do well that night. But yeah, it was.
What's the best thing that happened to you on stage? Your best when your set went beautifully. I want to hear one of those stories.
You want to hear one of those? That was. I mean, those stories are boring, Linda.
No,
it's
no,
gonna be.
People's lives are not boring. I find this so interesting. They never talk about it. That's why I find it so interesting, because they think it's boring, but it's not.
There was this one time I asked well, my friend, who is the owner of the Crack House Comedy Club, one of the two comedy clubs in Kuala Lumpur. That we only have two full-time comedy clubs. So I asked my friend Rizal, like, hey, can I open this weekend? And he said, well, I messaged him, and he said, like, well, come tonight and do the Gong Show. And that was his answer, right? He didn't say whether I could or couldn't. I'm like, well, I guess that's his answer. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do the Gong Show, and then I'm gonna ask him again, right? So the Gong Show is this show where you perform, and if the audience doesn't like you, they're given like these cards, and if they don't like you, they raise these red cards. And I think if you get, I don't remember how many it is. I think if you get 3 red cards or something like that, they hit the gong and you're out. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a contest between the comics to see who can last the longest. And I was like, this sounds like not my thing, but okay, I'll do it because Riza wants me to do it, right? And I was thinking like the one-liners are gonna do well because they have like lots of punchlines, right? They have like short jokes. I'm going into like the stories, and I'm like, the crowd's not gonna like it. But the thing was like, I was doing well that night, and also I think one of my friends who was a one-liner, it's actually what I was thinking was actually wrong, because what happens is one-liners, their punchlines are very obvious. And if they hit one and the crowd doesn't laugh, they're going to raise the red card. Whereas for me, if I hit a punchline and they're not laughing, I just roll right along, and they still think I'm telling a story. But I did get some laughs, and I did okay in there. And then there was so I the longest that lasted was between me and this other comic. So we had to have a joke off. And I was like, gosh, joke off. Right. What would I do? I'm like, okay, I kind of already broken all my jokes, to fit into this 3-minute or 5-minute thing that they needed for the first round. So okay, a joke off. Okay, we're gonna joke for a minute, and then the crowd's gonna decide who's funnier, right? I'm like, okay, what do I do for a minute? I'm like, I was looking into my phone, looking at my old jokes, and then I found an old joke that I forgot that I had. And I was like, I could tell this one. And then I did that. That was the only plan I had. I told this old joke about my son when he was much younger and he couldn't use the urinal. A whole story about that. Um, so I did that, and I think because I hadn't told a joke in a long time, and I learned a lot that night because I hadn't told a joke in a long time. I was kind of I didn't know all the words as well as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Excuse me, I didn't get much sleep last night. It's not
No,
you.
no,
It's me.
no, no, no.
It's
It's
me.
fine. Yeah, I know. So I couldn't like I wasn't as familiar with the joke as I used to be, but because I hadn't told it in such a long time, there was this interesting energy to it. There was this refreshing honesty about it. Like they could tell that I'm trying to tell a story rather than like rehearsing, you know, written
Yes.
words, right?
Yes.
And I think because of that, I won the Gong Show, and that was the only
Wonderful.
time. Yeah, that was the only time I won anything in comedy because generally I'm kind of afraid of contests. Yeah,
Yeah.
I yeah, and yeah, and I asked Rizal like, can I open can I open on a weekend now? And he said, yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Wow. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thanks.
I
Yeah,
learned a
yeah.
lot from that. I learned how, if I ever do get into one of those gong show type contests, I'll do a story because they're going to want to hear the resolution of the story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like stories because they're interesting. I Jokes are great. I love laughing, but what's better than that is if there's laughs, but there's also the story. It's
Yeah.
like yeah, doubly entertaining. I would say yeah.
I try to tell punchlines, not set up punch, but I try to talk about my crazy life.
Mm-hmm.
I started in Portland, I went to New York, now I'm in Vegas, and throw funny stuff in there. So those that want to hear a story, they're happy. And those that want to hear jokes have a chance.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good balance.
Yeah. I, are you hooked on comedy? Like you can't stop doing it? Like it's everywhere you look, you think of more jokes?
Um, yeah, I do find jokes a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but like I am actively looking like,
Abs-
could this be funny? Could that be funny? But I am more interested in things that are happening to me, really, or happening to, people I know.
yes.
And yeah, rather than like, I wouldn't like go, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not working as hard as I should because I wouldn't like go shopping and ask myself like, what's funny about soap powder? I'm not that obsessed. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. Everywhere I go, I'm looking for a joke. On Facebook, I put jokes that I don't want people to steal my jokes. Don't get me wrong. But the stuff I put on Facebook, if it did get stolen, they're not going to
Yeah.
get a lot of laughs out of it. It's just
Right.
cherry picking stuff, easy fruit, low hanging,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I like to, like, if you put out a post, how, like, I like to make a game. If you hurt my feelings, how fast can I make a joke?
Right. Yeah.
On Facebook, if you put a post, I like to make a game. How fast can I say something funny about it? Because then I'm
Right.
exercising an improv muscle.
Yeah, I can see that in this interview. You made me laugh quite a few times. Just
Thank
coming
you.
off, yeah, just coming up with like things off the cuff. Yeah,
Thank you.
I can see that. Yeah,
I'm
that's
glad you
wonderful.
see that I'm doing it in the moment. This isn't,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't, I don't like to memorize and have to, oh, let's see, what was I going to say next? I don't, I like being
yeah,
in the moment.
yeah, yeah. It's I'm learning to I think my whole life I'm learning to be in the moment, like just relax, be here. I will figure this out,
Yes,
yeah, that's my pretty much my mantra now. Yeah.
I like that. I I went through a lot of trauma in my life. I won't depress you with it, but I went through a lot of stuff in my life,
Hmm.
and life got really hard at one point. You go through a lot of stuff, eventually you need a shrink. And I learned about this course called Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, DBT, right? Everybody has an acronym. And all it is a whole like 39 different ways. You have 39 tools in your toolkit. So if something bothers me, I can handle it this way, this way, this way. And you practice all those different ways. And one of the ways was being in the moment, you know, like
Right.
I'm upset that my feelings got hurt at 12 o'clock. It's
Hmm.
now 1 o'clock. So if
Yeah.
I'm in this moment right now, 12 o'clock doesn't really exist. One
Yeah,
o'clock
that's true.
exists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
being in the moment really helps.
yeah. So often I see, like, if someone else is upset, I like the general, like, the tendency for me is like, why are you upset? Because I can't see why they're upset. But then if I put myself in their shoes, if I'm able to do that, then maybe I would see why they're upset. But then, like, maybe I have the benefit of, you know, um, looking at it without being there. And
Yes.
in a way, it's kind of like I'm in the moment, even though I'm just an observer, but I'm kind of in the moment, looking at it objectively. Whereas
Yes.
they're kind of like still at that hurting point.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. I I think there's a people make fun of you if you really enjoy everything. Like, oh, my coffee, so good. People make fun of that kind of
Yeah.
person, but that's the way I am, you know.
Yeah.
And I like um, in 1996, I got hit by a drunk driver. I have brain trauma, and it gets better all the time. It's nothing like it was when I couldn't buckle my shoes.
Hmm.
1 2 buckle my shoe. I had to, I didn't even know how to say that back then. All my memory was gone. So when you lose all your faculties, it's easy to go, I want to be in this moment, I want to enjoy this moment, because
Right. Right. Right.
you
This
can't
is
remember.
precious.
You're very
Yeah.
precious, very
Yeah.
precious.
That's true.
The superpower.
Yeah. It is. It is a superpower. It is just, yeah, actually, like, being grateful, right? Is all it is being grateful, and that's the superpower.
Yeah. Looking for
Yeah.
the good, like slowing down your mind. Go for one time I was so sad, about all the trauma, and I learned about the DBT, and I decided to slow down my mind. When you slow down, if you go all the time and then you slow down, it can be more depressing, because you're when you busy all the time, that's what keeps you from being depressed. Just doing things.
Right.
If you
Right.
slow down, you can get more depressed. So you have to be, but I went for a long walk and I was so upset. It took me probably an hour to go 2 blocks, and I made myself go really slow and notice every little thing on the ground. I wasn't even
Right.
looking at people. I was just like, okay, there's a leaf. It's a leaf. Uh, oh, a rock. And
Yeah.
like that, the leaf was in that moment. Now it's a rock. And it was like I had a vacation. That
Yeah.
short walk that took a long time refreshed my mind. It's such
Yeah.
a great coping skill, being in the moment.
Once in a while, I like, um if we are going, like, we recently went to East Malaysia, and we were in the forest, and
Yes,
I knew we weren't going to have phone reception there. We weren't going to be able to check our phones or the internet, or
you
if we
told me
brought
you
a,
were.
yeah, Yeah, that's right. I told you, right?
Yeah.
And and um, and I know from experience that this like is good for me because it calms me down, and then I'm more relaxed. You know, and the thing is, if you told me like right now, like okay, why don't I just put my phone away? You know, like I can stimulate this experience of being in the forest if I just stop paying my internet bills or put my phone away, lock it up. Um, I would say you're crazy. Like, why would I do that, right? But
Exactly.
yeah, if I'm actually in a situation where it's not even a choice, it's taken away from me. Yeah, actually, it's good for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They've proven that if you do something a different way, it's great.
Yeah,
Like even if you not giving your phone can be such a time consuming stressor, you know,
yeah, yeah,
always worrying, did I reply? Did I reply? Or whatever,
yeah,
But so many things that you can do to be in the moment and renew your mind, like, keep your mind active, but not be on the internet. It's a good thing to pull away from the internet.
yeah, yeah. So I think
How was your trip to the forest, by the way,
um
in
it
East
was fun.
Malaysia?
I Yeah, we had fun. And um okay, I wish we saw more animals. I really wanted to see this bird that we have seen it before, but like I always want to see it again. It's called a hornbill. Well, actually, there are many types of hornbills, but I would have been happy seeing any type of hornbill. It's not that we don't have them here, but just that I think they are originally native to East Malaysia,
Oh,
and yeah. So when you're in the forest, sometimes if you're lucky, they are around, but like it's not easy to spot them. Um, Usually, you have to be in a clearing to really see birds, really, because in the forest you can't really see things that are more than a few meters away from you because it's all trees, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, but I was also kind of worried about this ankle that I injured like 2 months ago. So being there, I was kind of hiking with the group, but I was kind of happy that I didn't aggravate my injury. And also,
Yes.
after the hike, I actually felt like my ankles were stronger. So maybe all that walking was good for me. All that walking
Wow.
in in that in the forest. Yeah.
Wow. So how did you injure your ankle?
Yeah. I was rock climbing in an indoor gym,
Mhm.
uh, and I hadn't been okay. I hadn't been rock climbing for a while, and then we were on a vacation to this other place, and then we were like, oh, they have a rock climbing gym. Let's go in there. And then they didn't have the climbs where you climb up and someone hangs onto the rope. They had the climbs where you just do bouldering, where they have, which is basically they have a mat on the ground. You climb up and then you jump back down onto the soft mat, and it cushions your landing. But I kind of fell off one of those climbs, and yeah, I landed awkwardly, I would say,
Wow.
and then it's been hurting since, but it's been hurting very little recently. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It's amazing how sometimes you hurt a part of your body and the advice will be to lay off of it, don't use it. And
Yes.
then you find out using it actually didn't hurt it.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know what to do. It's like two opposite directions that you could take, and you really don't know. Sometimes even when you get expert advice, I'm still not sure. Like
Yeah.
the doctor will be like, okay, this is the formula, right? You lay off it for 6 weeks, and then you go to physiotherapy or something like that. But then it's like, does that formula work for everyone? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. I like to think for myself when the doctor calls, even with my shoulders, the doctor called and said, well, we got the test results back from your bone scan, you know, and and then I sit there and I analyze what he's saying because he can make, he's only a human. He can make mistakes,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I like getting advice from doctors. If you're paying for it, I want it. And then, but
Yeah.
I also think for myself, like,
Yeah.
okay, he says to take um, ibuprofen, don't take
Right.
acetaminophen.
Right.
Okay, but like I took an ibuprofen, it seemed to help more. You think for
Right.
your,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
just don't take everything
Yeah.
lock, stock,
S-
and barrel.
Right. So yeah, sometimes I question whether like, okay, they are making a decision, making a call based on the information that they have, right? And then I have to think like, okay, did I give them all the correct information? Like, did I miss out anything? I have to question that as well. It could be my mistake, right?
Well, it's interesting. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good way to process it because um, it's a responsible way. Because a lot of times we just say, well, the doctor's nuts, but maybe we didn't tell them everything.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It could be either one. Yeah.
Yeah, this has
Sometimes
been
they are
it.
nuts. Yeah.
Sometimes they're wackier than we are. This has been a very fun time for me. This doesn't feel like work at all. I feel like
Oh,
I've gotten
thank
to
you,
know
Linda.
you. You're so
Yeah.
relaxed. This
Yeah.
isn't difficult. This is like sitting at Denny's, a restaurant with you and just getting to know
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I
You
wish
make me relaxed.
you make me relax. I'm just giving back. I couldn't be relaxed if you were uptight. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
could
that's
fake it, but
yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's true. And yeah,
we have
I
good
felt it before.
energy.
Yeah. I've had um I've had guests on my stream where
Yes.
it's like 4 hours passes by and I'm like, oh gosh, it's been 4 hours.
Yes.
I'm so sorry I took up 4 hours of your time. And then the people watching, they're commenting, they want to know more about my guest as well. And it's just this great energy. And then there've also been guests that I've had on where I just 15 minutes in and I think to myself, gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna feel an hour with this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like one time I was interviewing somebody and it was the most horrible interview ever. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's like every question I asked, he either laughed at it or mocked, made fun of it, or was belligerent about it.
Oh gosh.
And then
Yeah.
at some point I got fed up with his nonsense. So I said, "This isn't my roast. Did you think you were coming on to roast me?" But when if I have to
Yeah.
say that to you, you've gone way too far.
Right. Yeah. I
Well,
can I can imagine it would take quite a lot for you to say that as well. Yeah.
yeah, when I do it, it's heads are gonna roll by the time I get the nerve to say it. If I've got, I'm so nice, but if you push me in a corner, I come out with like my claws. So I'd like you to tell people where they can follow you or how can they help your career.
Yes, anybody interested can check out. I have daily streams at facebook.com/simtong comedy. So that's SIMTONG comedy, all one word. Yeah, and you'll find the rest of my stuff there. I have daily streams where I'm talking to other content creators and comedians, entertainers, and yeah, I've talked to you before, Linda, and I
Yes.
always enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I've been
Me
doing
too.
this whole time.
Wonderful. So I'll go on to this after we hang up. I'll go on to the Facebook video and I will type afterthoughts. I call it
Oh,
Confessions of a Zoom Reporter, episode 12, Sim Tong. And I will say things why did I interview? What was I thinking when we're interviewing? And how can they support you, etc. And then if you are you on Instagram or Twitter or mostly just
um,
Facebook and YouTube?
mostly on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I post pictures periodically. I would say, and not that often. Twitter, I'm just horrible at Twitter. No,
Good.
there's no reason to go on my Twitter. It's save yourself the trouble.
Well, I'll tell you, President Trump is good at Twitter. So if you're not
Yeah.
good at Twitter, that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Really, Americans are so tired of Twitter feeds. So, yeah, thank you so much. I'm
Thank you, Linda.
I'm very old, so I have a very long way of saying goodbye. I can't wait to talk to you more. You're just an absolute addition and such a delight. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thanks for having me on here. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you all for watching Sim Tong from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you lots.